such a shift of consciousness could play an important part in the next stage of our evolution. If we go back and look at the previous major steps in evolution, we can see that each stage became a platform for the next. Energy led to matter, matter led to life, and now life has led to consciousness. Thus the spearhead of evolution is now the human mind. We have moved beyond biological evolution into mental evolution. Thus it is not changes in our bodies which will now determine the future, so much as changes in our thinking, changes in our perception, changes in our attitudes. The evolutionary phase which we have now entered is the evolution of human consciousness. Inner development is now the key. In short, evolution has become internalized. And these changes are happening much faster than we might at first suspect. Recent data shows that inner evolution may soon become very widespread in our society. If we look back at the past distribution of human employment in the West, we see that the major focus for centuries was agriculture. Most people were employed on the land. That continued up until 1900, when a new curve took over: industry. Industrial work became the dominant use of human time. We entered the industrial age. And the industrial age continued until 1975, when a new curve took over: information processing. And we are now very much in the information age. And we enter the information age much faster than anybody anticipated. Whereas it took over a century for the Industrial Revolution to have its full effect, the information revolution has had a major impact in just 25 years. So the next question is, what will follow the information age? Well, there are already signs of a new curve beginning. And although small at present, it is growing even faster than information processing. This curve represents the growing number of people involved in the exploration and development of the vast resources of the human mind itself. These are the people who are beginning to explore what may perhaps be the last great frontier: our own minds. The number may be small at present, but as you can see, if you extrapolate the trend, then by the year 2000, it will have overtaken the information curve. What we would then see is a very major shift in values, as more and more people discover a deeper sense of unity and purpose, and, letting go of their petty, selfish ways, beginning to function more in tune with humanity and the planet as a whole. Now, the idea that there are deeper levels to human consciousness is not new. In all ages, all around the world, we find people talking of that same fundamental wisdom, that same basic understanding of life and consciousness. Here I've symbolized these different people at different times by different colored dots. Now, when any particular teacher died, his message was forced to spread by word of mouth or be written down on parchments, with the result that as his ideas began to spread around the world, they inevitably became distorted and absorbed by the culture of the time, with the result that very little now remains of the original wisdom. But today we are in very different circumstances. Firstly, hundreds upon thousands of people are beginning to discover the hidden potentials of the human soul. And secondly, books, tapes, television, computer networks, in short, the whole information revolution, has given us the means to share these discoveries with each other without the information suffering the distortion and misunderstanding that was inevitable in the past. So now, as the wisdom begins to spread out across the planet, there is instead a positive feedback. The wisdom reinforces itself. Rather than dissolving, the wisdom builds upon itself. Such an inner awakening could be the crucial ingredient in the linking of humanity into an integrated society. A society in which we are linked spiritually through an awareness of our inner unity, an awareness that we are all part of something greater. And at the same time, gaining a greater awareness of our individual potentials and uniqueness. A synthesis of greater individuality along with greater community. Such an inner development, if widespread, could be very valuable in helping humanity deal with the problems now facing it. We are clearly in a time of crisis, but most of us think of crisis as bad. But maybe we have something to learn from the Chinese on this. Their word for crisis, Wei Qi, means two things. The first symbol means danger, beware. But the other two symbols mean opportunity, an opportunity for something new to emerge. If we only see crisis as danger, as a threat to our accustomed ways, then we may spend all our energy resisting it. We need also to look at the opportunities inherent in the crisis. From an evolutionary perspective, crises are a sign that something has gone wrong. The patterns of the past are no longer working. Crises are thus a challenge, the challenge to adapt. They are the challenge to let go of the old ways of thinking and move on to a new way of seeing. Thus, humanity's current crisis may not, at its root, be an economic crisis or an environmental crisis. It may well be a crisis of consciousness, a crisis in how we see ourselves and the world around. Many of us have probably experienced at one time or another those moments when we feel at one with the world, a sense of inner peace, with no need to prove who we are. The question is, can we allow these precious moments to happen more often in our lives, and in the lives of other people? In short, can we choose to explore and develop our greatest resource of all, our own minds, our inner selves? I'd like to finish with a poem from Christopher Fry's play, Asleep of Prisoners. The human heart can go the length of God. Dark and cold we may be, but this is no winter now. The frozen misery of centuries cracks, breaks, begins to move. The thunder is the thunder of the flows, the thaw, the flood, the upstart spring. Thank God our time is now, when wrong comes up to meet us everywhere, never to leave us till we take the greatest stride of soul man ever took. Affairs are now soul-size. The enterprise is exploration into God. But where are you making for? It takes so many thousand years to wake. But will you wake? For pity's sake.